Tee it up indoors. Qualify August 18th through 21st for the inaugural Birmingham Indoor Open. Individual stroke play, flexible tee times, and a $500 championship prize. Then gather your crew for the Big Rooster Scramble. Qualify August the 4th through September 4th. The top 3 teams advance, and one leaves swing away as the Big Cock champions. Book now.
Something that's not talked about enough in the industry is
you get burned out. You're pretty screwed up individual that is unbelievably buzzed up and put together.
that was something that happened to me.
We are all human beings. I actually have a chance now if you understand how to be better prepared.
You don't have to talk to a person to get your whole God thought off the ground and going.
My daughter, she can sniff out the AI instantly. They're not your questions.
I told Anna, I was like, we're going to see real quick who runs a good restaurant.
It doesn't matter if it's golf or cooking. You will get results when you love what you do.
This is live on the Clubhouse with Charlie. Howdy, swingers. Charlie Bolak here, founder of Swing Away Golf Club and host of the Clubhouse Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. And without further ado, let's hop right on into this week's episode. It's all about moving. And moving is one of those things that sounds simple until you're actually in it. You tell yourself we're just changing houses, or I'm just changing jobs, or I'm just moving offices. Golf, I'm just changing instructors, or I'm moving up a tee box. It's never just moving. Moving means disruptions. It means boxes everywhere. It means routines getting blown up. Things that used to feel normal, suddenly not normal anymore. Whether we're talking about business, parenting, golf, moving forces you to answer one question. Can I handle change without losing who I am? Today on the Clubhouse, that's what we're talking about. Moving houses, moving positions, companies, old habits, maybe even moving to the senior tees before you're ready. This is it. Business, dad life, golf. Let's get into it.
Great golf brings people together. At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PuttView, paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun, interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. In business, moving doesn't always mean a new address. Sometimes it's moving offices, sometimes it's moving roles, sometimes it's moving from sales into management, moving from one company to another, sometimes it's even being an employee to being the person who has to make the payroll. Ask me about that one. Here's the thing about change in business. Everybody says they want it. Nobody wants the inconvenience that comes with it. Growth almost always requires movement. You want a better role? You have to get out of your comfort zone. It's just the way the world works. Let's dive in. Let's talk about it. You want to get into a leadership role, you may have to move away from being judged by your numbers and start judging people by theirs. You want to start a business, you got to move from a place of security to the chaos of whatever the hell we're doing here. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of moving parts. That's not a career change. It's an identity change. One of the hardest moves in business is the person who does the work to the person who has to create the system that the work exists within. In sales, you can win by being relentless. You can outwork people. You can follow up better. You can know your product better, build relationships. When you move into management, the job changes. Now your success depends on how well you can teach others to do that. Whether it's the customer experience, the consistency, whether business can function when you're not standing hands-on in the middle of everything. And can you define the system without being a part of the system? That's the question. Where you identify the weakest link. It moves hard because it exposes every weakness. It shows you what was organized and what was just kind of living in your head. Same thing happens when a company moves offices, changes locations. It sounds logistical. Move desks, moves computers, all that. But under the surface, it's a culture test. What if somebody went from driving 5 minutes to work to 30 minutes to work? Can your customers still find you? Are you a warehouse? What does your customer interaction look like? Can the operation even survive any type of disrupt? Leadership communicate clearly enough that everyone knows what matters. Business lessons. Change is not your enemy. Poor communication during the change is your enemy. If you can't set yourself up before the move, then just expect chaos. Because even if you set yourself up perfectly, there's still going to be a measure of, now it'll feel like more controlled chaos, but there's nothing you can do to foresee every change. There's nothing you can do to 100% be ahead of the game in every aspect. But what you can do is take the steps to be ahead of certain items that you know to expect. There's always going to be the unexpected, but if you plan for the expected challenges, then change is not always your enemy. When you're moving a business, a team, a career, clarity is key. They need to know what's happening, what it's looking like, how it's going to affect them from an employee standpoint. If you're the one doing the move, then you have to know how it's going to affect you, how it's going to affect your family, your day-to-day life. That's being someone who existed more seat of pants than as a planner. My ability to react to unexpected is uncannily high, but my ability to plan is terrible. That's why I married a planner, right? She has taught me, let's just say, I know how to do it at this point, and when I don't, it's on me because I choose not to. Best way to leave that. Couple key takeaways. Maybe the move is unavoidable, but the chaos doesn't always have to be. But what was it? The 5 P's of the restaurant business. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. We threw a couple extra in there, but that's always what it is. It's always what it boils down to. When you find yourself in these situations, if you're ahead of them, if you've planned for what you can and are ready for what you couldn't plan for, well, let's say, are you ready? You are prepared for what you couldn't prepare for. How about that? Maybe not ready. Maybe ready is not the word, but if you're prepared, unprepared, going with it. But somebody will catch that and see where I was going. And please drop it in a comment when you do. Help people get to the why. That's one of my big things in leadership. It was always that people will perform better when they know why they're doing what they're doing. When you're able to communicate a 360-degree vision to your staff, to your boss, to everybody in this organization, it doesn't have to go all the way up vertically. As long as you go to your boss and then you've got your direct reports, as long as everybody understands that vision and they understand why we do the things that we do the way that we do them, it is just key. It's critical. And if you get to a level where you're on a team where everybody knows their role, everybody is engaged and happy. Hell, I would even say if you can get to 85%, you're never going to be perfect. So let's throw perfect out the door. But if you can get to 85% employees that are engaged and all pulling their own weight, it is one of the most amazing things to see a high-performing team perform together. I think that takes care of business. Stick around. We'll come right back.
Great golf brings people together. At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PuttView, paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. I did miss one thing that I wanted to point out. As most important, remember this. Every move in business is a chance to decide what you are taking with you and what you're leaving behind. Bad habits do not need a forwarding address. That's one of the things I left off. I was reviewing my notes in the commercial break there, and absolutely just 100% key that all these organizations, top organizations, be them small businesses, be it Warren Buffett, I think originally had something to do with the 80-20 rule, but there's always going to be 20% that could go. right? The 20% is not needed, can be let go. When you're on a good cycle, catching that person behind the statistic is dropping down. If you can catch that, you can start preparing. Say, all right, Joe has checked out. He's obviously, I've made an attempt to re-engage him. I've tried my best. I mentally decided that it is time to separate from Joe. Then it is time to go ahead and make that happen before anything can fester. And that way, if you get out on the down, in is always on the up, you can catch that cycle before any real damage is done. Because I will tell you this, and we've talked about it before, a toxic employee can ruin a high performing team faster than you would ever imagine. I've seen it. I've gone through it. It's as much fun as I was just talking about it is to be a part of or be a witness to a high performing team. It is just the exact opposite to watch a high performing team basically get torn apart from a toxic person or some form of cancer that has spread in that environment that was not managed quickly, cleanly, and has been allowed to fester, and you find yourself in a pretty poor situation. Seen it, been through it, got the t-shirt, don't really ever want to wear it again.
Something that's not talked about enough in the industry is
You get burned out. You're pretty screwed up individual that is unbelievably buzzed up and put together.
that was something that happened to me.
We are all human beings. I actually have a chance now to understand how these better.
You don't have to talk to a person to get your whole job site off the ground and going.
My daughter, she can sniff out the AI instantly. They're not your country.
I told Anna, I was like, we're going to see real quick who runs a good restaurant.
It doesn't matter if it's golf or cooking. You will get results when you love what you do.
This is live on the Clubhouse with Charlie Bolak.
Jump into parenthood. And we specifically came up with this idea because this is what we're going through in our personal life right now with our middle son, Teddy. Frank, our youngest, too young. He'll never remember the house we're in now. He'll never remember the move. Still don't want him to go through anything traumatic, but not necessarily worried about his feelings in the move. Leo is just always going to be as happy as he can be no matter where he is. Our work with that was more front end, right? Making sure that the bones of the house were good to support a handicapped child, and the accessibility was where we needed it to be. We could get him in front, we could get him in the back, no terrible sets of steps or hoops to jump through to get in the house. So, it takes care of the oldest and the youngest, but now middle son Teddy is just old enough to where this move is going to be one of his first childhood memories. And thankfully, Anna brought it up, that how important it was going to be to plan for this, to manage it correctly, to make sure that he doesn't come out of this experience with a childhood less than great memory, right? That's our focus has always been on our children and what we've got going on in our professional lives, not affecting that personal space that we've built at home. So, this is going to make his world feel unstable. There's just no way to avoid that. Even the best in the world would probably say that they would have a struggle moving house with a almost 5-year-old son. So, heck, it's stressful as an adult. Moving out as a kid is completely different. Adults see the paperwork, the logistics, inspections, boxes, closing dates, movers, utilities, furnitures, and once you're in, trying to find the box that's got the cursed coffee maker. Kids see it differently. Their room is changing, their routine's changing, their safe place is changing. Their drive to school is changing, bedtime's changing, toy boxes or toys disappearing into boxes. And that's actually something we learned in the last move, was to better expect a life. For those of you who do not know restaurant industry or product rotation practices. So LIFO, last in, first out. So toy boxes, absolute last box to be loaded, absolute first box to be off the truck. There's nothing worse than getting somewhere and realizing you have not the basic essentials for a child. I've been places without toys, pacifiers. We've always made sure we had liquid snacks, things like that. But one of the most stressful things to me anyway is being out in public with a screaming child. I have been through it a few times because of my lack of planning. I will say that the fatherhood journey has probably spurred me to do more planning than I ever have before in my life. No joke there. That being said, their whole little world's getting shaken up, and they may not have the words to explain to you why things are a little off. The fact that, and again, this was not me, this was my wife. She's the smart one. I always say I'm the doer and she's the thinker. So, and we function very well in that environment. You know, as a parent, the challenge isn't just getting moved. It's helping them get settled. And one of the biggest mistakes we can make is just thinking, oh, hey, he's so excited. Let's just throw him a little blanket up there and let him go. It's just not. If you've been through it and you've experienced something different, great. You probably have a kid that has a very low need for stability, and that's a very powerful thing. Teddy may end up being a kid that has a high need for stability. I don't think so. I don't think he is at the moment anyway, and that's okay. Everybody's different. I'm a very independent person. Anna's not quite as dependent as I am, and I think Teddy's probably got a little bit more of her personality and characteristics than he does mine. And again, that's okay. We always said if he got my skin tone and everything else from her, we were good with that. As you're going through this, keep bedtime as normal as you can. Keep school routines as normal as you can. Keep their favorite stuffed animals, blankets, sound machines, anything you can to just make it feel more like home to them, because it is a huge change, whether or not you even recognize it in them. And it's a good reminder for parents that we can get so locked in on our adult stress, we forget that they're watching us and learning from us. I told a story the other day that Teddy, and I can't even remember the phrase right now, but I haven't used it in quite some time, and it's not a common phrase, so I really doubt he would have heard it from anywhere else. But we're just in the middle of a conversation and bam, there it is. Just something I know he got from me. I know he hasn't heard in a long time. And so it's something that lives up there, and it's a saying that he's using. And that, that it was a lesson to me that they are learning from us. Everything we do, whether we realize it or not, whether we think about it or not, whether we want them to or not, they are learning every moment. And they're learning how we handle situations. Do we panic? Do we yell? Do we disappear into stress? Or do we say this is a big change, but we're going to do it together? I would probably be more on the yelling side, and I'm probably on the big change, but we're going to do it together side. But everybody's got their way. We all come together. We're all a good foil to each other. And that's it. We adapt to the way we are. And I'm working on getting to the now I'll never be the gentle parent type. We're getting to a happy medium where there's not the elevated voices that maybe sometime in the past there had been. And that's growth. And we've done an episode on that. All right. It sounds simple. Kids need simple when life feels big. How do you say it other than that? Just give yourself grace too. Now, I like that I'm able to pull out some of these old sayings from some of the old episodes. You've got to give yourself grace. You're not going to make this completely stress-free. It's a stressful time. It's a stressful time for you, for the kids. There's going to be moments. There's going to be issues. Just give yourself grace. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be steady. Moving's a chance to teach them that things can be scary, exciting, frustrating, all the emotions at one time. If there's a great Harry Potter reference there, Hermione told Ron one time that he had the emotional range of a teaspoon or a teacup or something like that. And that I would have never really understood the multiple emotions: scary, exciting, frustrating, good, happy, yay. But now as an adult or a more mature adult, and especially seeing it in my children and as they develop, yeah, all those emotions are going on. If you would have asked me that 15 years ago, I'd have told you were nuts. I'd have been on Ron's side. But today, as a hopefully a little bit wiser, older man, I was wrong. All right, let's take a little break. We're going to kick it on over to golf and take it home. Thanks for being around.
Great golf brings people together. At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PupView. Paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
All right. Thanks for sticking around. We are back. Let's talk about golf and how moving can apply to golf. Golfers hate moving. Let's start with that blunt line right there. We don't call it that, but we hate it. We hate moving on from a swing thought. We hate moving on from a club we used to love. We hate moving on from an instructor. We hate moving to a different tee box. We hate moving our expectations to match reality. But golf is full of moves. You're going to, if you're doing the same thing over and over, day in and day out, you will plateau. Not saying you've hit your ceiling, just saying you've gotten as good as you've gotten as much out of your current routine, right? You're not going to keep doing what you're doing and shoot lower scores because your juice is matching the squeeze. Your input is matching the output. You're getting out what you're putting in. Sometimes you have to move on from the way you used to play. It's hard because every golfer has a version of themselves that they're still chasing. You still want to go back and relive the swing from the best drive you ever hit, the 80-foot putt that you sunk one time halfway paying attention after 12 beers at a Muni. It's part of it. You remember the round where just everything clicked. You used to hit a certain club a certain distance. I had my first short that went over 5,000 views. That's what it was talking about. I used to hit my lob wedge 100 yards. I was dead nuts, as they will say. And now I'm 85 yards and not near as consistent as I used to be either, oddly enough. But you age. And look, you might be a 20-year-old golfer, just up and coming, but there's still going to be things in your golf journey that you're going to have to move on from. And it's not always moving from the amateur tees to the senior tees. What about when you're growing up? I've got Teddy right now on the shortest tees on any course I could ever put him on. But there will be that time in his life, hopefully, when I say, okay, buddy, you're ready to move up to that next level of tee. You're not getting any more out of playing this short of a distance. So let's step it back and let's put in a new challenge. And that is the same thing. That's moving. That's moving up. But change is change. And that's the overarching theme to do with moving is how you adapt to change. And teaching yourself to adapt to change and practicing how you adapt to change is the only way you're going to get better at adapting to change. It's a muscle, just like anything else. Those who work it out will have a bigger muscle. All right, too much ego in the tee boxes. I don't want to hit this one up too hard because that's something looming over me, right? I'm 44 years old. I think 50 is when you can start playing on the senior tour. 55 or 60 is when you can start playing the senior tees. I'm not necessarily too terribly close to that. But what I do want to hit, though, it is a real life story that some guys that play here that are in a golf group together were talking about. And they have a little drama going on in their group. And it's because one of them has recently hit whatever age it was, maybe a 65, to move up to the senior tees, and now he's performing much better in their golf gambling group. There, it's called a dogfight, and they play Saturday mornings, and apparently people are really giving my buddy a hard time, but he has earned the right to play from those. I told him he would be crazy to start playing at the other tees because then you don't have a good defined break point. When he switched, he had a defined break point. All right, this age, this is where you go. You go back to the white tees, blue tees, whatever tees you're playing as the amateur tees. Now you don't have okay, I'm 65. Now you're at the whim of, all right, I just felt like today was the day. So I told him, no, stand your ground, man. You've earned the right to play there. You're not doing anything wrong. And if you have kept your body physically fit enough to be able to spank younger guys when you get on a little bit shorter tee boxes, because I can promise you, there's not a whole lot of grace there at most courses, right? There may be some where the change is more significant. And I'm not saying it's not significant, because there are definitely shorter holes and shorter overall distance, but it's not, you're not going to go from shooting 100 at the white tees to shooting 80 at the yellows either, unless you've got something majorly wrong with your golf game. So I think we've beaten that one up and over the head. But another topic that applies, though, is moving on from an instructor, right? If you have gone as far as you can with an instructor, number one, that would be the hardest, because you have this long-term relationship where you trust them, they trust you, they've given you good instruction, you've given them good money over the years, and you've grown together, right? But if you're getting to a spot where you kind of question, maybe it's your own motivation with that. Maybe you're too comfortable with each other. Maybe the pro doesn't want to challenge you, right? It doesn't say, hey, I can tell you hadn't been practicing. Yeah, I remember I had a guitar teacher, and every time I would say, I'm struggling with this chord, you're not practicing. And I got mad as a kid, but now as an adult, the 30 some odd years later, he was right. I wasn't practicing. Why am I going to get mad at the teacher when the teacher's like, dude, I can tell by the way your fingers are moving that you're not practicing enough? And yes, I am. He was right. Here we go. I don't even remember his name, but 30 years later, if you taught me guitar back in the probably late 80s, early 90s, and I was a little turd of a kid, there you go. 35 years later, here's your apology. All right, golf punishes people who refuse to adapt. You can be proud of where you've been and still honest about where you are. Move up if it makes the game more fun. And that's, to me, another thing, that the guys that want to go from the lower amateur tees to the higher tees and to the tips, ego, if you're playing for money or something, but I guarantee you, not many people that aren't training for something related to golf aren't going to walk out by themselves and go play around from the tips. It's not that much fun. It's so much more difficult. There's so much more trouble. There's so many more hazards that come into play. And somebody feel free to reach out and comment if you think I'm wrong there. But, you know, I don't think that a lot of people find value in that, right? It's the ones that are playing because they're at a competitive level and they're competing. There's no need to play the tips if you're not playing for money or competing, or if there's not a direct benefit to your life from playing the tips and you're playing by yourself. Why? Just tell me that. Just why? All right, so let's wrap up golf. We've done pretty good on time, so we're going to try to wrap it up pretty quick. So move on from instruction that isn't helping. Move away from swing thoughts that only work on the range. Move towards equipment, tees, practice habits that match the player you are today, and with a vision to who you want to be, right? Golf gets better when your ego stops writing checks your swing can't cash. That is a good Top Gun reference. I love Top Gun. So I still do it. I would imagine 80+% of golfers are guilty of it, and it could be closer to 100. Why do we try to kill ourselves to get another few yards out of a drive? Why do we risk duck hooking in the woods to swing as hard as we can at a ball? I don't know. If somebody knows the answer, though, let me know, because if I can figure out why, I've got a better shot at making the PGA Senior Tour when I'm 50, because I can't figure it out. I know 99% of amateur golfers can't figure it out. Is it an ego thing? It may be. Who's to say it's one way or the other? All I know is that when I'm sitting over that golf ball, even if my swing thought is don't crush the ball, I still try to crush the ball. Maybe I need to move on. Well, actually, to go back to the business topic, that's one of those bad habits you can drop in a move, right? Or at a break point. At some point, you can say, hey, that's a bad habit. I don't want to do it. Now, if you can figure out how to crush the overswing bad habit, then you will be my new best friend. I'll give you a free membership at Swing Away Golf Club any day of the week. All right, so let's close this thing out. Moving is hard because change is hard. Whether it's a house, a company, a role, a relationship, a routine, a tee box, or a version of yourself that you've outgrown, Moving forces you to decide what matters most. In business, moving teaches you to communicate, lead, build systems that can thrive disruption. In parenting, moving teaches you that kids need stability, routine, reassurance, more than they need everything to be perfect. In golf, moving teaches you that adapting is not quitting. Sometimes it's the only way to keep getting better. The question is not, how do I avoid change? Maybe the question is, how do I move without falling apart? And maybe the answer is pretty simple. Take what matters, leave what doesn't. Communicate clearly, protect the people who depend on you, and don't be too proud to move up a T-box. Thanks for sticking around. This is Charlie Bolak. This has been the Clubhouse Podcast. We'll see you next go around.
This is live on the Clubhouse with Charlie Bolak.
Here's what people don't tell you about leveling up. If you want to move from this to this, you got to do a whole lot of work in between like this. You got to keep these places up to keep them ready. A lot of people pay for it, but if you want to have your money working for you, it's elbow grease, baby. Are you ready? If you value hard work, enjoy golf, and want to hear about leveling up, moving, parenting, stuff that I have real world experience with, give us a listen at the Clubhouse Podcast. Find us on YouTube or Spotify today. And as always, come and see us at Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
Welcome to the Clubhouse Podcast, broadcasting live from Swing Away Golf Club. I'm your host, Charlie Bolak. Today we're talking corporate America, the American worker, and why golf is actual therapy. Let's get into it.
Hey, good morning, swingers. Charlie Bolak here, live at Swing Away Golf Club. This is the Clubhouse Podcast. Thank you for being here. We're going to jump right on into it today. Couple of updates. Could you call it an update? I don't know. Just kids growing up, and it's a strange feeling. My oldest, Leo, he'll always be with us. He's had some medical ailments, and seeing the progress that he makes day to day is incredible in its own right. But with the neurotypical kids, Teddy's just advancing so fast that I had no idea that he would pick things up this quick and become a little person that fast. And it's been a pleasure to watch and a pleasure to participate in. He's just so much fun. Trying to think of a specific instance that just the way he mimics the things that Anna and I say and then can turn them around into a conversation it's incredible. Let's see. His little brother, Frank, on the other hand, highly mobile now, and that has presented challenges in and of themselves. He's got the ability, I'm pretty sure, to crawl at this point, but he likes army crawling because he's gotten pretty good at it, and he's pretty fast. Used to, you could contain him in an area of a room, and then it grew to maybe a room. But now, boy, he can just scoot all over the house like a little snail and leave a trail of destruction in his wake. I was yesterday cleaning the house out with Teddy a little bit, and Frank, I'd put him down in Leo's room, which is on the other side of the house in the back porch. But now we make sure that there's all the big stuff is off the floor and all that mumbo jumbo. But he literally crawled out of Leo's room, through the little foyer area where the guest bathroom is, into the kitchen, through the little breakfast nook, and out the back door to where now we knew he was coming at this point. It was not a surprise. Once he got about halfway through the kitchen, we started hearing him. And I was like, wow, that's coming a lot faster than I expected. So we checked it out, and then we cheered him on the rest of the way. It's so amazing. It's incredible to me, even though there's only a 3-year age gap between Teddy and Frank. You almost forget some of the cute things they did, the milestones in between everything else that you've got going on. It has been neat to kind of rewatch and relearn all the baby things. I will not be one of those dads that misses having a baby in the house. Love my kids. Glad I did it. Don't regret anything. Don't want any more. Plain and simple. No questions asked. If we did have another one, it would be an oops. Let's see. All right. So one of the things I've been thinking about, and whether or not I was going to bring it up on the show, and I do think I will go ahead, and it has to do with just the corporate world in general, but more specifically the specific industry I was in. I don't know where it was 20, 30 years ago. I know where restaurants were, but nothing that would translate into a multi-billion-dollar industry, in $10 million units with hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars in fleet. So I really don't have much of a history to draw on outside of the 12 years that I was in the particular industry I was in. It's come to a head, and I suspect that it's going on in all major industries. But to give you an example, I was talking to a colleague not too long ago, and he was talking about last year's results, and just said, "Yeah, man, we really shit the bed." And I hadn't been out of the industry long enough to know that last year was a tough year for pretty much everybody. There were segmented areas and segmented markets that did well and hit their overly exaggerated growth projections. The fact that this corporation was able to twist the facts of business to make this poor fella feel like he had personally done a bad job, when, if I had to guess, and judging from some conversations he and I have had, and without saying, looking at the numbers, you can tease out a pretty good understanding of where somebody's at and why they have these feelings. So to me, he outperformed the market, right? And to me, that needs to be the judging stick. How have you performed with your local market, against your local market, in your local market? And it's not happening. They're saying this branch in Houston grew at 180%. Why can't everybody else do that? It's local economies, it's competition. There's just so many factors that go into it. And the fact that they were able to make this guy feel like he personally had dropped the ball or underperformed or whatever you want to call it, however you want to say it, that's disgusting to me. It really is, because I personally know this jerk works very hard and he's very competent. So I just don't see how he could have messed anything up, right? And that's, in times of lower revenue, there are handles you can pull, levers you can pull to soften the blow a little bit, but there's nothing you can do to grow in a stagnant market without doing other things that are going to cut profit, right? So if you're looking at growth in fleet utilization hours, I can cut the prices. I can go put everything I've got on rent. But what does that do to my overall numbers? It brings them down, right? Because I've gone out of that zone of comfort, that zone that I'm built to perform in. And now I have to bring on extra labor. I have to spend extra on repair and maintenance. I have to spend extra on overtime. It's one lever affects another, all the way down from the top of a P&L to the bottom. And there are ways to influence it on the way down, but there are not ways to just make something from nothing. And I think that is what is happening to our world, is that these bonuses and comp packages have become so projection based. And I'll tell you this, from starting a business from scratch, my projections were garbage. I did all kinds of research. I talked to a lot of sim owners. I talked to a lot of people in the golf space. I visited a lot of these places. And I really thought I had put together with a team of experts, right? We have the small business DC, the small business development, whatever it is, then go into a government lending and SBA bank that helped me put everything together in an even tighter package. For this many eyes to have been on something, and these are stakeholders' eyes now, and these are people that are going to be affected by the success of this loan package or business or whatever you want to call it. And it's a very imperfect science, right? And when you tie everything to front end numbers, right? Hey, you have to grow 12%, be it revenue, be it whatever it may be. When it's a set target and it's not measured off industry peers, meaning your close competition, right? It does not matter to you what a branch in Seattle, Washington did. Now, if you're bonusing off the overall performance of your business unit or your company, then that makes a big difference. But if everything's segmented, and in my industry, it is broken down into regions, into districts, and they tied comp to each smaller part of the whole. But what they didn't do is get a little bit more granular and say, okay, this is what the Alabama market did. This is what the Tennessee did. This is what they're looking at it as. What did the Eastern United States do? What did the Western United States do? And I think when you do that, it becomes unfair to the employee, because you end up with situations like this colleague of mine where he truly feels like he has done a bad job or has underperformed at his job, when everything I can see, at least, and everything I have gleaned from the people I've talked to, and people that have an understanding of the industry as a whole, probably a much better understanding than I do, as a matter of fact, will off camera and off the record agree with you. But when you when the eyes are on them, no, they have to toe the corporate line, or else they find themselves out of work. This is going to be a kind of a series I'm going to talk about, is where I think corporate America has kind of gotten off the rails, and where the American worker has kind of given up a little bit of their bargaining power to these big corporations that provide, I guess you could call it, safety. Back in the day, it was when you were generally worried about an employer not being able to pay your salary. That just, and I know it happens these days still, but there's a much better vetting process. If you're going to go work for somebody, you have the ability to find out more about them now today than you ever had in the past. But people think, oh, I'm just so happy to have a job, then I'm not going to vet this guy. I don't care. He made me the best offer. The best offer on paper is not always the best offer for your life. This is something I'm going to talk about because I think this is a particular, call it skill set, if you will, or just experience that I have that not everybody does. And if a couple people could improve the position of their lives by negotiating, or by even opening their eyes to what's being done to them, and maybe even helping work out a strategy to get some of that power back, I think that's just a win-win for everybody. And trust me, even the investors and the upper management, the higher tier of the corporate guys, you get them one-on-one, they understand this. They know this. They've felt this their whole careers. But now that they're up here, why would they move to change it? So let's have this conversation a little while. Let's see. All right, the last segment before we're gonna get on out of here. I like this one. I took some notes on this, and it is a lead in from the common golf. So why is golf actual therapy? And it's funny for those that have seen me on the golf course, and how upset I can get at my swing if I'm having a particularly bad day. I think they would think, hey, how is this therapy for you? You seem so angry. But it's a chance for me. First of all, it's exercise, right? And then personal time. As a guy from a household where both spouses work quite a bit, 3 young boys, personal time is a luxury we just don't get very often. So when I do get a chance, be it on the golf course, hell, be it on a long car ride, I consider that personal time, as long as I'm not taking work phone calls or anything like that, to just take a step back, have a mental health check in. Hey, how am I doing? What's going on? And that kind of led me to develop a theory I have, that the ISS, the Internal Satisfaction Survey, and it's probably been done before. It's probably a thing. There's probably a name for it. That's not what the name I came up for, but it's something that I've really been working on this year in particular. And it's just a way to look back and say, hey, what am I doing that makes me happy? What am I doing that makes me unhappy? How can I do more of one and less of the other? Because to be the best husband and father, I've got to be the best version of myself. And I don't think I've been doing a great job of that in the last couple years. Just work gets to you, family life gets to you. You get a little bit down on yourself. You get a little bit down on situations, and you wake up one morning, hey, I'm out of touch. This is the kind of stuff that will keep you in touch. You might stray out of line a little bit from time to time, but if you have something that can center you, that can ground you, that can bring you back to that center line, it's just going to benefit you. That, to me, is why golf is actual therapy. It's exercise, it's personal time, it's a mental health check-in, and it's an internal satisfaction survey. Hey, what am I doing that makes me happy? What am I doing that makes me unhappy? How do we fix it? How do we minimize one, maximize the other, and make sure that I'm bringing the best version of myself to those I love and those who love me. Guys, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Clubhouse. We appreciate everyone who tuned in, jumped in, hung out live from Swing Away Golf Club. Clips are going to be dropping all week. You haven't seen Swing Away you haven't been by Swing Away lately, come on and see us, man. Give me a call. It plays with your emotions. You go 3 months slow, you start getting really worried. Then you have 2 months or a month where you're just so busy you don't know how to catch up, and then to just turn that faucet up. Man, I tell you what, it is a tough way to. It's tough on your emotions, but it's a blast. We're having fun. Anna's loving it. Kids are loving it. Every time Teddy comes out of here, I got to drag him, kicking and screaming, to get it back in the car. So thank you all for checking in, for listening. Come by and see us. Give me a shout. Check in. Happy to get the Magnolia room back up and running, but it's no secret that I'm behind on a lot that I got going on, and I didn't need to spend, hopefully, what will be 4 hours or less on replacing a screen. It took me the better part of an entire day to get this one in now. It was mainly because it was too small, and I had already taken the other one down, folded it up, gotten it out of here. So I wanted desperately to be able to make this one work.